Namaste to one and all, everyone present here, watching this transmission live as well as in recorded form later on different platforms. I am Charu, Dr. Charu Thapliyal from New Delhi, India, and today we have this session on shadow to Shakti, going beyond the notions of positivity and negativity in spirituality, going beyond the notions of love and light, going beyond the notions of spirituality as we have understood it, especially in the Western context, and whatever little I have understood, what I have experienced, what I have lived in the past almost 20 years of my spiritual journey, I would like to share with each and every one present here. So, just a little bit of background as to why this session is even taking place. I very recently went on a trek. I went to Mahavtar Babaji's cave in Kukuchina Dwarhat. After which, I also visited Neeb Karoli Baba's ashram, also in Uttarakhand. And these are places that I visit often. I have probably visited Mahavtar Babaji's cave every single year except for 2020 because of COVID. I visited there every single year since 2017. And Neeb Karoli Baba's ashram as well. I've been there multiple times. And I always leave feeling inexplicable understanding, surrender, devotion, and receiving a lot of new light codes, a lot of new transmissions every time I visit these places. This time was a little different for me because the information was so potent that I just could not bypass it. I could not refuse it. I could not reject it. My conscious mind also had to stop and acknowledge the knowledge that was given to me because it was so pertinent, it was so relevant to our lives today. And not just me, I would say people around the world. And that was about the shadow. My question before I had gone to the cave to Babaji was, now that Earth is in such a high frequency band, we're talking about quantum leaps, especially in spirituality as well. There are now people are so much more public and verbal and confident in their personal spiritual practices, bringing them out to the public, asking questions, and just in general being very, very centered and settled in their spirituality. And in itself, we are receiving so many new information. We are receiving so many new downloads from masters around the world who are channeling these light codes that technically, theoretically, ascension should be happening at very rapid speed, which it is as well. But a lot of people still come to me when I take my one on one sessions, when I speak to people personally, they still come and tell me that we are still not able to ascend. We are still stuck in 3D patterns. We are doing the meditation, we are doing the yoga, we are doing the bhakti, we are visiting all these high energy spots. We have a community. We are doing everything by the book. But why is it that still we see ourselves stuck in the same old patterns, same old situations? And sometimes it goes up to the extent that you work on something and suddenly a trigger arrives and it feels like whatever 6 months of work, 2 years of work that you have put into that suddenly comes crashing down. And you feel like you're back at ground zero. You feel like uh, you didn't make any progress in that particular department at all. So it's that one shadow, that one trigger, that one incident which happens, and it's like a tsunami, and it crashes over everything that you have built on this foundation that you have been working on for years and years and years. And that was my question to Babaji. Why is it that now we see spiritual people being uh, more stuck in 3D patterns, more stuck in their ascension journey. And the answer I received was in the form of a vision. So the vision I received was, imagine someone standing on the ground but with their feet sunken in the soil, in the sand. So the earth, the ground, the soil has hold of your feet. And then imagine there's somebody who's holding your head from above and pulling it up. So your feet are stuck in the ground and somebody's pulling your head from above. And imagine yourself to be a being of plastic, or like a chewing gum. So you are getting stretched in both directions. You're just getting stretched. And that is what I saw. They say in Hindi, there's a very popular saying that to the intelligent, to the wise, a single hint is enough. And this is the hint that Babaji gave me. A lot of people here might be able to resonate with it as well. That until and unless we do not leave our past self, past identity, past 3D rootedness, stuckness behind, we cannot ascend to 5D or the further dimensions. And that is what is causing fragmentation. That is what is causing us to be dragged in different directions. So, yes, we are doing the work, but we are feeling stretched. We're not feeling expanded, we're feeling stretched. It's as if our physical self and our spiritual self are in a tug of war all the time inside. And all it is causing is a stretching of the being, not an expansion of the being. And the answer to this that I received was shadow healing. Now, shadow healing is a concept that's more popular in the West than in the East, I would say, at least in the face of it. But when I looked back and I read up on texts, I ruffled through our ancient literature, because something as sacred as this, a technique as profound as this, it's not possible that it has to be so recent. I'm sure it must have been there since time immemorial in our texts. And then I went back and I looked through it, and I found so many instances of it. I found so many different dimensions to it that I was completely shocked. And that's what I want to share with people here. Whatever little understanding I have about shadow healing, the messages that have been given to me by the masters, and the responsibility that has been given to me to make people aware and educate them about this aspect of their own being, which is causing them not to go fully into their 5D ascension, and that is the shadow self. So, I'd like to share my screen at this moment. I hope it's visible to everyone. And I'd like to talk a little bit about shadow healing. So, shadow work is not about fixing yourself, it's about meeting the parts you've hidden with compassion and awareness. Shadow, as we see it, as we understand it in the West, is slightly different from how we see it in the West, in the East. So, in the West, we understand it more as a darkness, something in our unconscious, something which we have repressed, something which we have hidden, something which we have actively and then later passively worked to bury so deep within ourselves that we have forgotten about its existence. But in the Indian context, the shadow is seen as a karmic memory. It is not a darkness to be removed. So you are not trying to escape your shadow self. You are not trying to get rid of your shadow self, but you are merely trying to shed light on it. What is the shadow? If I look at it from the Indian perspective, there are four specific terms that come to mind. So the first, avidya. This might be something that you all are probably aware of. Avidya, generally we translate it as ignorance. But ignorance of what? ignorance of your reality, of your true spiritual self. If you find yourself saying this a lot, I don't know who I really am, regardless of whether you have done the spiritual work or not. If you have not done the spiritual work, then it's an avidya. It's a basic initial stage of avidya, a basic initial stage of ignorance. When you get into your spiritual awareness, when you start doing the spiritual work and you still feel like, I don't know who I really am, even after receiving your spiritual initiations, even after doing your meditations, yoga, everything, that is a different level of avidya. The self is like an onion. The more layers you peel off from it, the more layers there are to reveal. So, this avidya is your shadow. The second is vasana. So, if you find yourself saying this a lot, that I keep repeating patterns I don't understand, whether it may be receiving toxic bosses, whether it may be attracting unhealed, emotionally unavailable partners, whether it may be financial scarcity, whether it may be uh, not getting a job even after having the qualifications, whether it may be your business going down no many how many times you started, or anything. If you keep repeating a pattern and it feels like the same pattern is coming in front of you, taking different people's faces and taking different people's forms. If the people change but the pattern remains, that means there are some vasanas, there are some past impressions that are so deeply ingrained in your programming that you are attracting things from that past version of you. If you find yourself saying, I've mistaken my role for my identity, then this comes under ahamkar, or the identity marker. A lot of women, especially in the Southeast Asian context, they get lost in the role of motherhood and they mistake their role for their identity. So, whether it is your role as a parent, a child, a sibling, a partner, an employee, an employer, a friend, if you mistake your role for your identity, that comes under ahamkar, or your identity marker, and your shadow is coming from there. Samskaras. Samskaras are the karmic grooves on your consciousness palette, or I can call it as um, the past impressions that you have had from different lives and from different experiences, even in this life, that have become so heavy, that have become so repeated, that they have left their mark on you. So, if you find yourself saying that I carry reactions and fears that were programmed long ago, or even if you don't know when they were programmed, but you carry some irrational fears, you have some sudden reactions, uncontrollable reactions to certain things, they are coming from your samskaras. My friends, by telling you about these four areas, avidya, vasana, ahamkar, samskara, what I'm trying to tell you is, what is the shadow? Where does the shadow hide? Just like there are four corners of the room, the shadow takes the shelter of these four areas in our consciousness: our ignorance, our past attachment or detachment to certain desires, our identity markers, and our samskaras, or the past impressions. These four areas are where the shadow hides. And now that we know about these four areas, it becomes so easy to understand why certain things keep happening in our life repeatedly. And in fact, when you become more spiritual, what I have seen in my experience is that these patterns become more intense, or they start getting repeated at a higher frequency. And although it seems counterintuitive, but this is actually the law of paradox working for spiritual seekers. The more spiritual you become, the more capacity you build to overcome your old identity, your old self. And because of that, the more so called or so perceived problems and obstacles and patterns and behaviors come to the surface. And this is where a lot of seekers get confused. They think that we are now on the spiritual path, we have begun the journey, and then suddenly it seems like there are more problems in front of me now than there ever were. It seemed like ignorance truly was bliss, because unconsciously I was living um, in a better state. But now suddenly it's like all the garbage has come in front of my eyes that I need to clean, and I don't know where to begin from. But the only reason this is happening is that you have finally come home to yourself after a long time. Imagine going for a trip somewhere for a month or 2 months and then returning back to your home. When you step foot into your home, you're going to find it covered with dust, covered with spider webs, uh, all sorts of things depending on where you live. And you will feel overwhelmed because while you were living there every single day, maybe you weren't paying as much attention to the cleanliness next to you. Also, it wasn't, so dirty because you were living there constantly, which is how it was in our childhood. We were living purely from a soul based essence. But then, as we begin to step outside from that home and we started going on these first small, then long, then very long trips, what I'm trying to say is the more farther we started going from our soul, the more gap there started to form between our mind and our soul. So the more dust, the more dirt, the more ignorance started accumulating. And now that through these spiritual practices, you are finally coming home to yourself, seeing your home, your own home, in such a dirty, mangled state, in such a horrific condition, create some kind of guilt, some kind of shame, some kind of embarrassment, some kind of anger, some kind of frustration, and disgust as well. Now, there are various ways to tackle this. Some people may tackle the rip the band aid technique, as I call it, and they would start cleaning from one end and clean the entire house in one go. But some people might not have that much capacity, and they probably might get tired after sweeping and mopping one room, and they would want to sit, take a break for coffee, then get up and then start doing the cleaning again. Maybe the same day, maybe another day, and then slowly they clean the entire house. So, shadow here is nothing but your forgotten light waiting to be remembered. Shadow is nothing but that layering of dust and dirt that has entered your home, your true self, your soul, because you have been out of it for too long. When we talk about the Western shadow talks mostly about the unconscious personality, but in the Indian thought, our shadow, like I told you, is karmic residue from our actions, thoughts, fears, and identifications in the past. And it is seen through self inquiry and dhyan in meditation. Since the shadow is something that is unseen, how do you see something that is the unseen? We are not talking about the physical shadow. Of course, I can see my physical shadow, which is created by the sun. I can see it with my physical eyes. But my unseen shadow, my spiritual shadow, my soul's shadow, I can only see it by closing my eyes. I can only see it through the third eye. And for that, I have to sit in meditation. So the shadow is something which is not to be removed, but to be integrated. In fact, if you've seen a lot of movies where you have an angel and a devil sitting on a person's shoulder, giving them suggestions about what to do in a situation where some kind of a moral or ethical dilemma is at play. What I like about some movies is when they show the angel and the demon with the face of the person on whose shoulder they are standing, because that is what the essence of shadow truly is. Your shadow is not something evil, that is something from the outside, something that is external to you, but it is very much a part of your own self. And just as much as you have a love and light side, just as much you have a spiritual side, an angelic side, you also have a shadow that maybe you have not accepted. But unconsciously, it drives, just like it drives the argument between the angel and the demon, standing on top of the shoulder of the person who's having a moral dilemma. Our shadow inside us also drives the majority of our behaviors. And this is precisely why a lot of people ask me why, you see spiritual people progressing to great heights. And then suddenly they do something that seems so human, that seems so uh, stupid, for lack of a better word, something that is so lacking in common sense, and which precisely causes their downfall. And you wonder why someone so spiritual like them could have done something so human, something so banal, something so mundane, something so much, very much like a common man, which caused their downfall. And that's precisely because of our shadow self, which has not been integrated properly. So, this shadow, especially in the Indian perspective, is not to be removed, it is not to be taken out, it is not to be cut off, it is not to be suppressed. The Indian mode of enquiry has always been non-violent, ahimsa, non-violence in thought, deed, and action. So, even when we are talking about meditation, when we are talking about shadow healing, when we are talking about any kind of spiritual self inquiry, we go back and we talk about it from a very non violent point of view. So, how do I work with my shadow without cutting it, without removing it, without overtaking it, without overpowering it? I reintegrate it. I accept that self of me which had some sort of a wound, and there are different kinds of wounding that also happen, because of which we develop different triggers, and that forms our shadow. So I re-invite that self that had some wounding. I reintegrate it, I re-accept it into myself as part of my whole being, as part of my multi-dimensional self, because this is what it means to be multi-dimensional, that you at the same time can be operating from different states of your being, that you can be in minus 1D as well, and you can be in 4D as well at the same time, as paradoxical as it sounds. Some modern day shadow triggers for everyone present here, because I thought these would be the most common ones that we all go through, especially if you are on the spiritual journey. So, if you find yourself to be a people pleaser, if you find you have a fear of being seen, if you have the visibility wound, if you have any kind of emotional numbness, an emotional void, if there are any kinds of repeating toxic cycles in your life, like I said, in terms of uh, friends who are not supportive, in terms of partners who do not understand your worth, in terms of attracting unavailable people, in terms of attracting people who take advantage of you, any kind of toxic cycles that are going on in your life, if you find yourself burdened by your quest for perfectionism, that too is a shadow. If you find yourself to be in any kind of spiritual bypassing state, which means there is only space for love and light in your life, and anything, any emotion, any person, any trigger that has anything slightly other to do other than a positive feeling or an emotion, you bypass it. You do not work through it. So, for example, if somebody, um, you have a fight with someone, a close friend, say, and something in you tells you that uh, being angry is not a very spiritual kind of behavior, or um, causing conflict is not a very spiritual kind of behavior, or um expressing yourself, if it is causing hurt to the other person, again, it's not a very spiritual kind of behavior. So you suppress all of those feelings because they are not very love and light, and then you keep all of it hidden. Keep all of it repressed. And that is some kind of spiritual bypassing that is happening, that you are only picking and choosing the lighter emotions, the lighter experiences, the lighter parts of you at a kind of spiritual buffet for your soul. But all the other parts of you that seem heavier, if you keep suppressing them, then one day they are bound to build up pressure and then release in a way that could be violent, that could be uh, unforeseen, that could be harmful to you and other people around. And which is why I see that a lot of spiritual people who are on the path, on the surface of it, it looks like they are the perfect person, they are the ideal person. They never get angry, they never feel sad, they never had a bad moment. And then one day they suddenly snap and they completely derail, and they leave spirituality, or they leave their friends and family. And in very, very extreme cases, I have also seen psychotic breakdowns or mental breakdowns happening in such people. And the root cause of all of this is your shadow behaviors that you have not integrated in yourself. It's like you coming back from that very long trip after 2 months, coming back to your home, seeing that your home is dirty, seeing that it is dusty, seeing that it is full of cobwebs, but choosing to ignore all of that and still live in that same house, sleep in that same house, eat in that same house, letting the dust and dirt accumulate all around you and within you, as well as you continue to function as you are in that house, completely ignoring its state. So obviously, it is bound to catch up with you one day or the other. Each shadow hides a part of your soul essence trying to return home. If you've heard of the term shadow fragmentation, it's very popular in shamanic healing circles, and that is mostly what the shamans worked with. Fragmentation. It is when you let's go back to the metaphor that and the visualization that I gave you, where your ascension or your spiritual practice is taking your head upwards, expanding it upwards, but your feet are still stuck in the ground and you are getting spread in both directions. Now, that can only happen up to a certain point. After a point, when the tension is too much, that person is going to break. Obviously, they're going to break into two or maybe more parts. And that is precisely what soul fragmentation is. When you receive a lot of higher downloads, when you receive a lot of higher spiritual knowledge, but you have not completely integrated your karmic lessons, your 3D lessons, your shadow self, in trying to balance both, because these frequencies are very different from each other in density. And in trying to manage both of them, the soul ultimately has to, it breaks down into a couple of parts. And that is the fragmented self. Now, in ancient culture and still in a lot of indigenous tribal cultures, we see that it is the task of the shaman to go and retrace those fragmented parts and bring them back to the self. But now, with the kind of frequency bandwidth that Earth is in after 2012, the kind of ascension that is happening now post 2020, the kind of portals that we are going through every month, this task has become much simpler. This task has become something that even you can do for yourself. The soul can do for itself. And the assistance can be astral. The assistance can be causal. The assistant by the shamans, they can be in the higher worlds. But physically, you can start this process on your own to reintegrate yourself, to come back into your wholeness, your radiance. And so this whole process is for someone who constantly has that feeling of, I do not feel fully like myself, even after walking on the spiritual path. And these shadows, this fragmentation of the self, of the soul, is caused by different things. It can be ancestral pain, it can be childhood wounding, it can be gender roles given to us by society, it can be some kind of a spiritual guilt that we have, it can be any kind of past life karma as well that we are carrying. And when these patterns become so deeply embedded into our programming, they are then offered to different departments for their manifestations into our life. And these departments I've already told you about, the departments of your vasanas, your ahamkar, your samskar, all of that. So the root cause of all these shadows is mostly repressed emotions, which causes these energetic blocks. So just like we have a circulatory system which circulates blood all around our body, similarly we have an energetic system which is called the nadi system. And when we have any kind of repressed emotions, the circulation of energy gets blocked. And because of that, we can see its manifestation in different forms of diseases, in different forms of ailments, in different forms of stuckness in our body that then may need medical intervention, because the energy has solidified so much that it has now created a physical manifestation for itself. So, any kind of stones in the body, whether it's in the gallbladder or the kidney, or any kind of tumors in the body, any kind of blood clots in the body, any kind of chronic illnesses in the body, autoimmune diseases, all of these, and much more, is caused by repression of emotions, which are actually energetic blocks, sometimes which we are carrying through this life, if not, then from our past lives. The Indian texts, all of the Indian texts, they say the mind can bind you or it can free you. Generally, when we come into spirituality, we look at the mind as something which is something to be cast away, something to be outgrown, something to be put in the corner and not thought about. But that is not the case. The mind is a very wonderful tool that can be used for our spiritual growth if we know how to use it properly, how to navigate it properly. Because it is through the mind, it is through this self inquiry that we are coming to know about all of these shadows. And it is through the awareness that comes through this self inquiry that the shadows come to light. Now, working on them again requires a lot of energy. So, just because, for example, if I know I have the shadow of people pleasing and it comes to light, now I'm aware of it. Just becoming aware of it is not going to remove that shadow, is not going to bring light to it. But yes, with conscious effort, conscious movement, I can very much work on this now with my energetic bodies because it has come into my physical awareness because of the self inquiry that I did through my mind. So, according to Indian wisdom, we can heal this shadow through different ways. We can adopt the method of Swadhyay, which is self study or reflective inquiry. So, Swa means the self, Adhyaya means to study, or Adhyayan, which means to study. Swadhyay means study of the self, so reflective inquiry. Dhyan, which is meditation, pure witnessing. Here, dhyan is not concentration, it is not focus, it is not any kind of activity. It is pure witnessing. So when I am sitting with my legs and hands crossed, when I'm observing my normal natural breath with my eyes closed, I'm a pure witness to everything that arises inside me, and I keep going back to my breath. That is meditation, that is dhyan, that is pure witnessing, and that is the process which I have been following for the past 20 years. This process, which I just told you, is called Anapan-sati Dhyan. Anapan-sati, this is the technique given by Gautama Buddha 2500 years ago. In fact, the images or statues of him sitting under the Bodhi tree, meditating, it is this form of meditation that he's doing where he's just purely witnessing everything that arises inside him with his legs and hands crossed, eyes closed, and just holding space for anything and everything that arises. And in fact, if you have seen any kind of animations or movies on this part of the Buddha's journey, because a lot of people here might not have seen the actual paintings and um, the historical or the cultural side of it. But even if you have seen some movies or if you have seen some images, you would notice that there was also a time when the Buddha was sitting and meditating, and a lot of negative forces came and attacked him while he was meditating. So, on the face of it, it looks like there were all these external forces that came to attack him while he was meditating. But if you look at it from a very, very genuine and deep perspective, you understand that it was nothing else but his own inner shadows that he had to wrestle with during the pure witnessing that was happening in his meditation. And when he was able to accept and overcome his shadows, It is then that the pure the illumination, the pure light, the pure enlightenment, he was able to step forward towards that. And in that incident from Lord Buddha's life, we get to learn about shadows as well. This is precisely why I find a lot of people hesitant to sit in meditation. I find a lot of people running away from meditation or saying that they cannot sit still for more than 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Because as soon as they sit still, as soon as they close their eyes, they start observing their breath. Some or the other thought comes up which they find disagreeable, which they do not want to see, which they do not want to invite again into their conscious mind. And so they open their eyes so that they do not have to face that thought, they do not have to face that emotion. And then you blame it on external things, oh, it's really hot today, or I could not sit because my leg was hurting, or somebody was making noise, or I was feeling restless. But it is the true inner restlessness, the true wrestling of the shadow self which is happening. So if you have also been facing any kind of difficulty meditating, any kind of difficulty continuing with your spiritual practice, if you find yourself lost for focus, if you find yourself restless, in quiet, disturbed, then you need to ask yourself what thought is arising or what emotion is arising that I'm trying to avoid, that I'm trying to suppress, or that I'm trying to behave like it's not my own. So, meditation is the most powerful tool that can help you in your shadow healing and ascension journey. The next is sankalp or intention. We live in a universe of intention. It is through intention that this whole universe was brought forth into creation, and how we are also creating our lives with the soul blueprint that we have come with. And intention in this case, specifically when we talk about shadow healing, it's nothing but conscious reprogramming. So, whatever programming you have come up with is what you are seeing manifested around you in your physical reality in your life. But now, with the understanding that I am the coder, that is actually what the statement Aham Brahmasmi tries to tell you, that you are the coder of your own program, you are the creator of your own reality. And through conscious reprogramming of your subconscious, through conscious reprogramming of all your shadow behaviors, through just intention alone, you can overcome not just years, but I can very confidently say lifetimes of shadows that lie within you. Because the kind of energetic bandwidth that Earth is in right now, it is very easy to clear lifetimes and lifetimes of programming very easily. Another method through which healing can happen is through devotion or bhakti, loving surrender. And here I do not mean performative bhakti. For you to be devotional, it is not important to put on colors, clothes of a specific color. It is not important to put a tilak or a mark on your forehead of any specific kind. It is not important to show the world that you are spiritual or devotional through wearing different malas or chanting different things. Your devotion is your pure emotion, your loving surrender towards yourself and your monad, your higher self, your soul extensions, your monadic family. And that is the true devotion which leads you to God. Another way through which healing can happen is through energetic release or kriya. So, through breath, through sound, through ritual of any kind, and most importantly, through being in group energy, because there are a lot of things that we are uh, you know, I would not say we are not capable of doing on our own, but yes, it becomes much easier when we are surrounded by group energy to achieve those targets or those goals, especially when we are talking about shadows, because shadows are hidden in those deep dark basements, in those deep dark cellars of our being, where it is scary to go. But having someone come there with you, because we also have our collective shadows, we have the collective subconscious. So having someone light the way, having someone come with you, being there in a group provides strength, energy, and motivation to heal yourself in the best manner possible. So, group energy is something that can really pull you out of your shadows, throughout of that old self, throughout of that old programming, with nothing but just listening to the experiences of other people and how they are doing it practically in their lives. And when a group like this is divinely guided by a higher master, by a higher God, you know that you can fully, lovingly surrender all your fears and doubts and hesitations there in the process. Not be scared of looking at your own shadows, not be scared of going into these deep, dark basements of your inner self, because you know there is a higher master, there is a higher God who's there holding your hand throughout it all. So, these are the different ways through which these shadow healing can happen. And I basically, like I said, I received this message from Mahavtar Babaji and Neem Karoli Baba when I was visiting their ashram. And a lot of this information that I've shared here was channeled information directly received from them and various other masters over the course of the past 3 weeks. And to make this process easier for everyone, because my next question to Babaji was this, that if you are giving me all this information, I understand that you are also giving me the responsibility to share it with people around me, to educate people on this matter, and to guide them with my own experiences of healing my own shadows. How do I do that? And because of that, I was also given this responsibility of organizing a workshop. It's called Shadow to Shakti. Shakti is the Sanskrit term for your power, your inner power. And Shadow to Shakti, as we have seen till now, is where you decode your shadow self, you heal emotional patterns and karmic loops, you activate your inner Shakti power, you will learn tools for real spiritual alchemy, and you will have practical application of Indian philosophy. And the message that I received very strongly was that the 8 portal, which is going to happen on the 8th of August, which is also called the Lionsgate portal, is a very potent day. It's a very important day for those who want to step into their ascended self from their shadow self, from 3D to 5D. And that powerful gateway, if it is used for transformation, courage, and spiritual rebirth, then it can cause a lot of activations in you, the results of which you will see, uh, you know, up to 2026 or 27 max. So, we will have daily guided meditation, we'll have shadow work prompts, 8 portal activations, we'll also have recordings and a private WhatsApp group for sharing experiences. So, anybody who feels called um, to this workshop, please do consider attending. It's from 1st to 8th of August. We'll have live Zoom sessions, 8:30 to 10 p.m. IST. If in case you're not able to attend the live session, the recordings will also be provided, daily recordings. So you can watch the recording at your own, uh, time zone, time frame, and then you can interact with people in the group. You can share your questions there, and I can answer questions. And if for some reason you do not feel called to join this workshop, I urge you nevertheless to look into this topic of shadow healing, to look into this theme, to look into those hidden parts of yourself that are repressed. If you feel um, empowered enough to do this on your own, more power to you. um, Please go ahead and start working on this. The point behind me hosting this session today with our wonderful community from Smukti is just to make you aware of this theme that is holding you back in your ascension journey, and to urge you to work on this any in any manner possible, because this portal on 8-8 is going to be a very powerful portal where patterns that you have not been able to heal for lifetimes, things you have not been able to overcome for lifetimes, it is a portal that powerful enough that you can reprogram your reality just by having conscious awareness on that portal. So, from my side, this is what I'm offering for the community. All the details regarding this I will post in our community group, and we'll also publish this talk that we've had today on YouTube, and we'll publish a blog about it. So, I hope whoever is interested can join. Regardless, I urge all of you to work on this. So, now I open the floor for questions. We have 10 minutes. And there's already a question in the chat. I'll answer that. Meanwhile, I urge everyone, if there's any word I said during this whole session that you didn't understand, if there's anything at all that you want to discuss, I'm here for the next few minutes. So the first question that we'll be taking up is this. So Alessia asks, you mentioned that the mind can bind us or free us. Can you share an example from your personal experience? That's a great question. And I have nothing but examples from my personal experience, because this is something that I have been working on very consciously for the past 2 years. So, for example, I had a pattern of, regarding, you know, lack of self worth and lack of self love. I always place self love a little below self worth. I think self worth is the higher concept, qualitatively, and then self love comes only after you have developed enough self worth. So I understood that I have this pattern of self worth, and it was this pattern which was driving a lot of people and situations who I was inviting in my life. There was a time in my life when I was going for different job interviews, and I was getting the jobs as well, because in my industry I'm quite highly qualified, so I was getting the jobs I wanted, but I was not getting the salary I wanted anywhere. And even in terms of relationships, so I was attracting people where somehow it felt like the other person is doesn't really understand me, or doesn't is not able to touch a part of my inner self that I really want them to look at. Or even in my friend circles, I felt that I am someone who helps everyone, but somehow when it comes, when it's my turn to be helped, it suddenly feels like there's nobody in my field who I can ask, and suddenly it seems like I'm standing there all alone. So this was happening in very different ways, and I was experiencing all of these things in different areas of my life. So I sat and I worked through it, and I understood the pattern behind it. So the pattern behind it was a lack of self worth. And so I decided to work on that pattern of self worth. And after that, because that is also a rule of the universe, whenever you come face to face with a pattern, or you understand a pattern, and you ask the universe, or you declare the universe rather, that you are now going to resolve it, it sends you even more of those situations to see how much you would tolerate now, or rather tests to see if you have truly understood and integrated that lesson. So after I set forth that intention that now I'm going to work on this pattern of self-worth, a lot of people from the past came up. Again, I got a lot of very lucrative job offers, lucrative in terms of, the titles, etc. But I stood in my self worth, and I understood that all of these things coming to me are now closing loops of this pattern. And once I was able to understand that, so my mind, which was binding me, how was the mind binding me? Because all these things that I'm talking about, the samskaras, the vasanas, the ahamkar, everything, it's in the mind. All of this is coming from the mind. So it was the mind which was binding me to these situations because I was operating from a consciousness of scarcity. And then when I shifted my template to an abundance consciousness template, and I firmly, refused those offers that were coming in front of me, where I felt like my value and my worth was not being recognized. I created that energetic vacuum. And when I created that energetic vacuum, immediately other things started swooping in that were higher in value for me and my self worth. So, here, if instead of taking the situation in this way, if I would have started um, blaming myself, because, like I said, the mind can bind you or it can also free you. If I would have blamed myself even further, if I would have put myself in guilt or shame for attracting these situations again, not understanding that it's a test, not understanding that it's the final karmic loop coming to me for closure, I would have put myself even further down. The pattern would have opened up instead of closing, and it would have reiterated in my life again. I hope I was able to answer your query. This is how I personally overcame that pattern. Let's go to another question. We don't have a lot of time. I'll try to keep it short. I'm curious, how do you distinguish between a vasana and a samskara? Are there signs I can look for? Uh, Thank you, Alina, for this question. This is actually a very deep question that involves a lot of different concepts that I'm not sure I'll be able to explain in detail in just a minute or two, because even these concepts in themselves, the vasanas and samskaras, they are very, very deep concepts. But explaining them in a minute will be difficult. But signs that you can look for is just, even if you do not know much about these concepts, what I can guide you in just short is increase your awareness and increase your intention. So when you increase your attention, your awareness, especially in meditation, especially with your intention, the fact whether it is a vasana or a samskara will also come to you on its own. You will get signs, you will get symbols, and the signs will be so potent, they will be so in your face that you won't even have to distinguish them. You will know very, very easily that this is something that I need to work on. So that's all I can tell you in short. There's another question. I'll quickly take that before we close for today. Is there a gentle way to approach reintegrating these shadow paths, especially if someone feels overwhelmed by past pain or trauma? Yes. So thank you for bringing that up, Denisa. Shadow integration has to be approached very, very gently, because if not, there is there is a chance that you might fragment yourself further, and you might judge and corner these aspects yourself even further. So you talk about a gentle approach to reintegration, especially if someone feels overwhelmed by past pain or trauma. So personally, from my experience, again, I can share this with you all, that a couple of years ago I went through a divorce right after, it was a love marriage, as we call it in India. I understand that concept doesn't exist in the West, but it was a marriage with a friend, basically. And after that experience, it was because of karma that we went through that experience, both of us as souls and our families as well. So I myself was overwhelmed with a lot of past pain, trauma, not just from this life, but as I saw from 4 different lives in which we both had been with each other, and for closing the loops of which we had come together in this life as husband and wife. So yes, there was a lot of past pain, there was a lot of trauma, and there was a lot of soul purging that also happened while I was reintegrating these aspects of my shadow. So the gentlest way, again, I would say, is to meditate as much as possible, because it is through meditation you gain a lot of energy, and through gaining that lot of energy you are able to attract um, more people and more situations around you that make this entire process gentler. And again, a gentle process through talking to someone who has already been through these painful experiences or traumas themselves, and is not just speaking from something they have learned in textbooks. So if you can find a mentor who has been through such experiences in their lives, and is helping people reintegrate shadow paths, then please go and speak to them one on one. If you'd like to speak to me, I also have these one on one sessions. If not, then please find someone else who helps people and who has been through that experience themselves, who can help you with that trauma. Because otherwise, it just becomes textbook knowledge, and after a point, you will not be able to feel any energetic difference in your quality of life. So, the whole point of this is not just to operate through the mind, but to understand that the shadow is much beyond the mind as well, because the shadow also works with our astral bodies, our causal bodies. All of our karmas are stored in our causal bodies, and so is the shadow. So we are directly working with ourselves, with our causal body. It's very heavy work. It's very, you know, if you're not ready for it, you can feel overwhelmed. But if you truly feel ready from within, which I understand, because the very fact that all of you here are present for this session shows me your readiness, because I was given this message by Babaji that only people who are now truly interested in ascending, in truly interested and truly interested in, ascending their past self, ascending their pain, ascending their trauma, ascending their limited understanding of themselves, only those people will be attracted to your sessions, and only those people will receive my knowledge through you. So whatever I have shared is coming through him, and I guess it is a direct message for you that you are very much ready to overcome this. The only overwhelm that you feel is probably that slight doubt or hesitation, for which I would request you to meditate and tell your conscious mind that your soul is truly ready to transform now and overcome this. So, Alessia says, grateful for your time, openness, and such an insightful session. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for being here with your energy. There were a lot of things that I shared in this session that were not in the slides, because a lot of my sharing is also direct channeling, which happens. And I felt a lot of energy while I was taking the session. I don't know about you guys. Hopefully, the energy which I received, I was able to transmit to all of you. More details about how you can join the sessions, if that interests you, I will post all of that in the community. Most welcome for people who feel connected to this energy. If not, please send an intention in your meditation to find the right mentor or the right guru or the right master who can help you work with your shadows gently and overcome them forever and for good. So, with that last message, again, I give my ultimate thanks and gratitude to Mavtar Babaji, Patriji, Neem Karori Babaji, all the different masters, seen, unseen, and to your divine self and to my divine self for being present here in this session today. Thank you, everyone. Wish you all a very good weekend, and I'll see you all for a very different session again very soon. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Namaskar.